So Matt and I have been enjoying the cool weather we've been having in the mountains of Appalachia, the southern mountains. What's it been? What's the lowest it's been this week, Matt?
About 23.
About 23. It's unusual for this time of the year. Usually the coldest weather we have is what, January, February, something like that. So this is just November. So it's been nice. It's been especially nice to have a warm fire going and sit by the fire when it's cold outside. We had to get some wood in today. And we pulled up the okra. That's about all we did. They were just looking kind of pitiful out there, the okra, remains of the okra. We've got us some hot chocolate going on the stove. It's funny, it sounds like it's like a joke that people always say, but it's true for me and Matt, is that, you know, your parents and your grandparents always talk about how bad the weather was when they were young. Not necessarily that it was bad, but it does seem like it snowed a lot more, don't you think? Yeah, in those days. So I'm hoping that this early cold weather, maybe that's a sign that we're going to have snow this year. You think so? You don't know.
I don't know. I hope it does.
You hear so many stories, and me and Matt don't raise hogs, and we've never killed hogs or anything like that, but so many stories of old timers that talk about that, and they say they did it around Thanksgiving. Well, in those days especially, you needed it to be cold because you didn't have refrigeration like today. So, like mostly in my lifetime, Thanksgivings wouldn't be, usually it'd be too warm. I mean, the meat would go bad before you could actually do something with it.
Yeah.
So, the weather has changed. I guess it goes in cycles.
It does.
Yeah. Lots of stories, though, about this time of the year, about Thanksgiving, killing hogs around Thanksgiving, and then that just added to their wonderful meal that they got to have, those joyous times. They probably, or I don't say probably, they did eat more pork than they did turkey. So they would have been celebrating with fresh tenderloin. Getting ready?
Top of the stove's so hot I can't tell.
Yeah, it feels good though, don't it? We used to have a little dog named Wilma. She was a beagle, so she stayed outside most of the time. But on cold nights like this, we'd let her stay in the basement. She preferred to be outside too. She loved to run rabbits and all that. But in the winter, we'd open the door, the foyer door, and she'd come through and come down the steps. She didn't want to come in the house. She didn't want to go nowhere else. We'd try to entice her sometimes to come in the living room. She didn't like it, did she? She wouldn't. If you got her to, she'd be like. But she would come down the steps and come down here, and she would literally get under the stove, wouldn't she? She'd just keep inching until she got under it and just sleep. And then come morning, she was ready to go back outside.
At daylight.
At daylight, yeah. She wanted out. She wanted to go back out.
Yeah.
Be back out.
She was a good dog.
She was. Her name was Wilma. Matt named her.
Yeah, I don't remember where I came up with that.
I don't know. But she was the sweetest dog. She had little quirks, but she had a real sweet personality. She would not eat if you were watching her. She wouldn't. You could lay a steak there and she wouldn't eat it. She'd just look at you until you left. She just would not. She would not. She didn't want nobody. She was kind of a loner. But she was sweet. She loved to chase rabbits.
Yeah, that's ended up what done her in.
Yeah, she was chasing rabbits out on the ridge, and I guess the coyotes heard her, and so they come and chased her till they got her.
Yeah.
And we took her to the vet, but there was just nothing he could do about it. He kept her, but she died during the night. She was just a little dog. How big was she? How many pounds do you think she was?
Probably, I don't know, 12 pounds or so.
Yeah, she was a little beagle. And the mean old coyotes got her. But she loved the wood stove. She'd come down here. Check. Looks like it's pretty. Think so? No, Matt says not ready yet.
In a few minutes.
But she loved this wood stove. A few people have asked us about it, and it actually come from, we've had it since we were married, since Matt put it in back then. It come from Papa Tony's house.
Yeah,
it was there when he moved in.
Yeah, it was in his basement when he bought the house that he lives in now. Daddy didn't use it, so he gave it to me, and I got it up the basement steps, which was just a bad job, and got it loaded on the truck and brought it here and put it in here, and we've had it ever since. And it's a Fisher style stove, but it's not a Fisher. It's something that somebody's homemade, but they did a good job. It's been a real good stove. It's really heavy and it's got fire brick in it, and it's been a real good stove. Heats good.
So does most stoves, somebody asked me about the brick too, does most wood stoves have fire brick in them or no?
Well, all of them don't, but you want fire brick in them because it
Retains
it
the
retains
heat.
the heat, but it also it makes your stove last longer too. If you just got metal in there and fire burning on it, it'll burn it out.
Yeah, yeah.
But it does, it insulates better, and it heats better. It gets hotter and stays hotter longer.
Yeah. Wonder if the man that built Papa's house built it, or if he,
I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he did. I remember those folks. I don't think he did. He probably knew somebody or had somebody build it. But it's a good stove.
So I can't remember why Papa give it to us. At the time he wasn't using it, or you just wanted it?
Yeah, I wanted it, of course, but he didn't burn wood very often.
But he has a wood stove now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He does.
But he don't burn wood all the time, or as much as we do.
It is handy to have, though, in case of, power going out or whatever.
It is. You can cook on it, heat with it.
Right, it heats wonderful for us, but even if the power was off, you could cook on it if you needed to, or if you didn't even have any other kind of heat, you could stay warm by it. Yeah. Another thing people ask about a lot of times in the videos when they see the fires or see Matt building a fire or something is that do we cut our own wood? And we don't, because we don't really have a good place to cut it. We don't have the land, or also it's so steep where we live. The land that we have is so steep. But we have a friend, practically like family, but he does cutting for like right-of-ways and those kind of things and different kind of jobs. He does all kinds of stuff really, but he comes across during the year. He don't necessarily sell firewood, but he has a lot of wood when he's cutting those right-of-ways and cleaning up around people's houses and all that. So he just kind of keeps it, and then he doesn't split it or anything. He just cuts it in lengths. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, he'd cut it in stove lengths and just sell the rounds.
And I don't even know if he sells it to other people, if we're the only people. I don't know. I'm sure maybe he does. But anyway, he usually brings us a dump truck load each year. And we're waiting on him to bring one right now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably ready.
Okay, I'll get you. You want to pour? Might be too hot for me. Get you. Smells good. I have a video about hot chocolate, Granny's hot chocolate recipe. I'll share with it. I'll put it in the description so you can see it too. When we were out there getting wood, though, Matt said he's bemoaning the fact that we don't do it exactly right, even after all these years. We just never managed to actually, theoretically you could cut your wood and get it like a year ahead of time. We never managed to do that. We just cut it as we need it. I mean, chop it usually as we need it. We do have all from the last load he brought chopped, but we never managed to do it exactly right. We would like to, but we don't. Reminds me though of one time years ago I was writing on the Blind Pig and the Acorn about wood and how to do it and the best kind to burn and building fires and all that kind of stuff. But so I asked, that was when my dad Pap was still alive, so I asked him a lot of questions, and he told me that his family was like that. He said no, we never managed, and my Papa Wade was even a logger, but he said we never managed to get ahead. We just, anytime somebody needed to build a fire, I mean, it was just like a daily thing. Somebody had to go chop wood and bring it in. We never managed to get it. But other people did, and that's the way you should do it. But it reminded me of that. Another funny thing Daddy said, I said, well, when you're advising people about what kind of wood's best to burn, because everybody, if you do cut wood to burn in your for heat, everybody has their own favorite wood. What's your favorite wood, Matt?
Probably red oak, white oak, and I like locusts. A lot of people don't. A lot of people's afraid of it because it burns so hot, and it's hard to get anymore. But I like to have some and mix it with the oak. It makes a really hot fire. It'll really heat good, but you got to be careful with it. I've heard tales of people loading the stove totally with locust, and then it gets so hot that it starts glowing, and I mean, you can damage your stove that way. I don't know how true that is. But
Yeah, it's amazing that different woods are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the funny part of what Daddy said was, I said, "What's the best wood in your opinion?" He said, "Well, that all depends on how cold you are."
Right.
So, yeah. But most people in this area, I would say, prefer like oak or
Oak and
hickory, yeah.
We get a lot of maple sometimes in these loads that this guy brings us, and mixing the maple in with the oak seems to work well. The maple burns a little faster,
Yeah.
but it dries quicker, so you can mix it in with wood that's not hardly as seasoned, and it kind of evens out, and it helps it to burn.
Yeah, Matt thinks about that when he's managing the fire. He thinks about mixing it. I just come down here and put stuff in it. I don't think about what kind it is, or if it's some's drier than others or whatever. I just push it in and hope for the best.
Well, mostly if you got some wood that's not all the way seasoned, got a little moisture in it like we always do.
Yeah.
I'll mix it and put some, if we've got any dry wood, I mean, I'll start it with the dry and get a good bed of coals, and then it'll burn the wood that's not as seasoned, but your fire's not as hot, and you just gotta stay with it and keep it going. It don't burn as hot, and it's just a little aggravating.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll get there.
Yeah, well, we hadn't yet.
We're running out of years, ain't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, working and gardening, and
Yeah.
we just can't get it done. By the time we'll have the time, we won't have the body to do it.
Yeah, we'll be too wore out.
Yeah.
Some kinds of oak, what's one kind of oak that smells kind of funny? Some people don't like that.
Red oak.
Red oak, yeah. Kind of gives a sour smell. But we don't.
It burns good.
Yeah, we don't care.
But
about
I don't care about the smell at all. We used to burn some cherry years ago.
Yeah.
And you don't get much of that now. I mean, I just don't hardly ever see
Yeah.
it. It burns good.
Where did you and Papa get wood when you were still at home? I can't remember.
I used to go on occasion and cut it, and then we would buy some too. Truckloads is already split. But we used to, we would go up on the Forest Service land, and anything that was dead and standing you could cut. I guess it's still that way. It's been so long since I've done it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything close to the road, you know, you could fall it toward the road and then saw it up and roll it down the hill to the edge of the road and then load it in the truck.
Yeah.
And I guess you can still do that. I don't know that, but I think you can.
A couple of times friends have let Matt cut on their property
Yeah.
before,
Yeah, it's
over
been-
the years. It's been a long time though since we've done that.
About out of practice cutting trees.
Yeah.
Finally got a good saw and don't get to cut trees anymore.
We don't cook on it very much, but we have in the past. We need to again, Matt. Need to make some bread. We've made bread and pinto beans, soup beans we call them.
Yeah.
My Uncle Woodrow made the best soup beans, and he didn't have a wood stove in his house, but he had like a little can house outside that had one, and he would cook them on it and cook them like all day, you know, cook them a long time. They were really good. We need to do that down here.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
good. Go ahead and get started.
You want me to go get the beans?
Yeah.
Go get the pot?
Eat them tomorrow.
That would be good.
It would be.
Yeah.
I made a big old pan of batter bread on it one time. You remember that?
We made batter bread. That was good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. My Granny Gazzy, she had my whole life, I mean, when I was growing up, she still had her wood cook stove in her kitchen. She had an electric stove, but she had her wood cook stove, and she cooked on both of them. My favorite thing about the wood cook stove, of course, I loved when you lifted the eyes out and you could see the fire down there, but I loved that in the warmer, that's where she put her biscuits, so that's where I went straight to see if there was any biscuits left over that I could have a biscuit. But so many older people that really used them, I mean, or grew up like every day using them, or their parents using them, or whatever, they all talk about how the food tasted so much better. You know, I didn't really experience enough to know that, if I thought that or not. I was too young, but you hear that a lot, that older people say that whatever it was, it just tasted better somehow on the wood cook stove. I'd like to have a wood cook stove. I don't know though, it's awful convenient to just turn a switch and be able to cook really quickly whatever you want, not think about having to put wood in. Talking about mixing the wood, those older people, ladies that cooked on wood, they were experts because they knew how much wood to put in to heat it up, like whatever they were doing, or to keep it steady to bake a cake or whatever.
Yeah, they knew how to keep it a certain temperature and keep it there.
Yeah, that's was a true art for them.
It is. That's not very easy.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. Yeah, I couldn't imagine having to learn that knowledge. I mean, that'd take a lot of trial and error. Of course, in those days, I'm sure your mother, your father, whoever was doing the cooking would have passed down that knowledge and taught you how to do it, but that would be tough.
It just takes experience like a lot of other things.
Yeah.
It's like building fire.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with building one. You know, some people don't.
Matt's like expert fire builder. I can build one, but I don't make it look as easy as Matt does. I have to baby mine more to get it going.
Just use the right stuff and you don't have to.
I know, but I'm impatient. See, you do all of that work up front, and then and I'm like, oh, maybe I've got enough. I can just do it. It'll just start. I've probably got enough kindling. I've probably got enough. I've probably got it stacked good enough or whatever.
They don't take 15 minutes in the beginning.
I'm just impatient and in a hurry. But yeah, you do it and it never fails. It just lights it and it takes off.
Strike it and walk off.
Right.
That's the way I like to do it. It's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very good. As much as I like our gardening videos and being out and gardening and being outside, I like this too. I'm just so thankful to live in a place where there is those distinct seasons. I'm crazy, plumb foolish about gardening, but then I love in the winter to tuck in and be cozy and cook and sit by the fire and talk, and I like it all.
Yeah.
I love the cold air when you go out in the morning to let the chickens out and it's cold and frosty and your breath, you see your breath and everything's frozen. It's not so much fun when the water's frozen, but but that's just part of it.
Yeah.
And as much as we do enjoy living in the Appalachian Mountains, we also enjoy and appreciate and are thankful that you drop by to help us celebrate. It means a lot to us, and we really appreciate all of you who watch our videos. And we hope that you'll continue to do that, continue to drop back by often, help us celebrate Appalachia, whether we're outside in the yard eating popsicles after we're sweated all day, or at the end of a day like today, kind of winding down after a busy day of doing this and that, and then getting in more firewood and doing the only garden thing we did was pull up the okra, which didn't take 10 minutes. But we really appreciate you dropping by to help us.